Starting college on a tight budget, I jumped at the chance to rent a cheap room in an old apartment building. The landlord was welcoming and the space seemed fine at first. But from the moment I moved in, I felt uneasy. Objects would shift slightly when I wasn't looking. At night, I'd hear faint footsteps just outside my door, but when I checked, the hallway was empty. One day, while clearing out my closet, I found an old journal hidden behind a pile of clothes. It belonged to the previous tenant. The entries grew increasingly frantic, describing strange noises, shadowy figures, and a feeling of not being alone. The final entry read, "The landlord told me not to worry, but I can't stay. It won't let me leave." I confronted the landlord. He laughed it off, saying the last tenant had simply moved away. But a neighbor told me the truth. He hadn't moved. He had disappeared. I packed my bags that night and left without looking back. That room wasn't mine. It never had been. And I didn't want to know what had happened to the last person who lived there. During a business trip to California, my company booked me into an old-fashioned hotel. Vintage decor, creaky floors, and dim lighting. It had charm, but something about it felt off. That night, as I lay in bed, the lights flickered. Then the temperature plummeted. I pulled the blankets tighter, telling myself it was just bad wiring. But then I heard it. A faint scraping sound, like furniture being dragged across the floor. At 3 a.m., I woke up abruptly. My blankets had been pulled halfway off the bed. My breath caught in my throat. Then, from the corner of the room, I saw it. A shadowy figure sat at the foot of my bed. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. It felt like time had stopped. Then, in an instant, the figure vanished. I left at dawn without a word to the hotel staff. Later, I discovered that years ago, a woman had taken her own life in that very room. Guests had reported seeing her ever since. I never stayed in another hotel alone after that.